My name is Paola. I've been on One Name for 1 year. I grew up Catholic, originally in the Dominican Republic, and then I moved here when I was about 10 or 11. But that quickly went away just because I didn't have the best household. I was in a very neglectful, abusive household when I moved here. I went through a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of panic disorders. I went through rape. I went through abuse. It wasn't until last year that I remember Gigi invited me to One Name. I did come once before when she invited me. I wasn't really into religion. It wasn't my thing. I just was not open to it at all. And then I had an experience with Jesus in which I just heard like a very faint voice and telling me to just pray to come to him. One Name was very overwhelming and it wasn't a bad thing, it was a beautiful thing. It was just so many people, so much love, like it was so welcoming. But I wasn't used to that. I was always very alone all the time. It took a little bit of like courage for me to keep coming back, but I immediately, like after serving, I kind of like met some amazing people and that pushed me to come back. Just talking to Gigi, talking to Lauren, just having Eileen pray over me constantly, just, doing the same things over and over and just allowing me to come to them in that space because I was always so used to being alone that it was really hard for me to, open up to people. My biggest struggles were always the anxiety and the depression. I struggled so much wanting to be alive. And again, it was just like prayer after prayer after prayer. And just with the time, those things just went away. As my relationship continued to grow with the Lord, without even realizing, I was just becoming happier, I was becoming freer, I was just free. And that was the main thing for me. I spent so many years in chains. And I don't even know how I'm here. God has done through One Name for me is what 5 years of therapy couldn't do for me. And it happened so fast. On the day of my baptism, I was actually crying. I don't even know how I actually drove here. I was hysterically crying. And it was more me being deceived by the enemy more than anything else, because I remember struggling with just feeling like you were such a sinner, like you don't deserve any of this. But I knew that I wanted to give my life to Christ. And it didn't matter how I felt. What he says, what his word said about me was what mattered. And that's what I listened to, rather than listening to my own feelings. My best friend praying over me in that moment, her and her husband actually prayed over me that day and worshiped that day. And I remember singing Gratitude by Brandon Lake. That song itself, I was just like, I have to do this. Like, this is what Jesus says, and this is what I have to do. I want to have a new beginning. Things started to like shift so quickly after that for me. It was like change after change after change after change. In that moment, I felt like I could have a new beginning. I could have new changes. I feel light. Sundays are my favorite day of the week. I love serving. I love being in there early in the morning. I'm always just joking and laughing with everyone. Those are my favorite days. I do it with my heart. Like, I absolutely love serving. Now I'm very open to whatever God brings. When I accepted Jesus, Jesus was consistent with me. He was very consistent. And that was the only thing in my life that was steady, that was faithful, that was true. And still to this day, this is what has kept me going. And that's the reason, that's how I knew this is where I was meant to be.